time, we'd like to ask Dennis to come up for a special reading.
A minister passing through his church in the middle of the day decided to pause by the altar and see who had come to pray. Just then, the back door opened. A man came down the aisle. The minister frowned as he saw the man hadn't shaved in a while. His shirt was kind of shabby, and his coat was worn and frayed. The man knelt, he bowed his head, then rose and walked away. In the days that followed, at noontime came this chap. Each time he knelt for just a moment, a lunch pail in his lap. Well, the minister's suspicions grew. With robbery a main fear, he decided to stop the man and ask him, "What are you doing here?" The old man said he worked down the road. Lunch was half an hour. Lunchtime was his prayer time for finding strength and power. I stay only moments, see, because the factory is so far away. As I kneel here, talking to the Lord, this is kind of what I say. I just came again to tell you, Lord, how happy I have been since we found each other's friendship and you took away my sins. Don't know much of how to pray, but I think about you every day. So Jesus, this is Jim, checking in today. The minister, feeling foolish, told Jim that was fine. He told the man he was welcome to come and pray just any time. Time to go. Jim smiled and said, "Thanks." He hurried to the door. The minister knelt at the altar as he'd never done before. His old heart melted, warmed with love, and met with Jesus there. As tears flowed in his heart, he repeated old Jim's prayer. I just came again to tell you, Lord, how happy I've been since we found each other's friendship and you took away my sin. I don't know much of how to pray, but I think about you every day. So Jesus, this is me, checking in today. Past noon one day, the minister noticed that old Jim hadn't come. As more days passed without Jim, he began to worry some. At the factory, he asked about him, learning he was ill. At the hospital, staff was worried, but he'd given them a thrill. The week that Jim was with them brought changes in the ward. His smiles, a joy contagious, changed people, his reward. The head nurse couldn't understand why Jim was always glad. When no flowers, cards, or calls came, not a visitor he had. The minister stayed by his bed. He voiced the nurse's concern. No friends came to show they cared. He had nowhere to turn. Looking surprised, old Jim spoke up with a winsome smile. The nurse is wrong. She couldn't know that in here all the while, every day at noon he's here. A dear friend of mine, you see, he sits right down and takes my hand, leans over and says to me, I just came again to tell you, Jim, how happy I've been since we found this friendship and you let me take your sin. Always love to hear you pray. I think about you every day. So Jim, this is Jesus checking in today.
Amen. Amen.